10 on Sports Central will be going over a college football game preview and prediction on a big game coming up in the Big Ten in Week 12 of this 2020 season, and that's going to be between Iowa and Penn State. And both these teams, of course, have had very interesting seasons. On one side, you got Penn State, who is completely winless. They're 0-4 at this point, and it's just been a disaster of a season so far for Penn State. And they're trying to come back with a win against Iowa, which Iowa is definitely not going to be an easy out in this game. You got the Hawkeyes, who are 2-2 right now. And they're currently looking like one of the better teams in the Big Ten West for sure. I mean, they've won 2 games in a row. They've blown out 2 teams in a row. And all around, it looks like Iowa's offense and Iowa's team in general has officially clicked. And they're looking really good right now. And they've got a lot of momentum heading into this matchup against the Nittany Lions coming up this weekend. And we're going to be going over a full game preview and prediction on this game here today, starting out with your team trends. And, of course, Iowa beat Minnesota last week, 35-7 was their final score there. Meanwhile, for Penn State, they lost to Nebraska 23-30, and honestly, that loss against Nebraska has got no excuses. I mean, Penn State absolutely blew that game, in my opinion. I mean, Penn State's turnover margin was bad. They allowed way too many turnovers, and they also, another thing that they did was they could not finish in the red zone. That's something that I did notice out of that game. Like, Penn State will get into the red zone, and they'd have to kick a field goal. I mean, if you look at how many touchdowns they scored 2 touchdowns, but they also scored 3 field goals. I mean, if you get touchdowns on all 3 of those possible red zone opportunities, that puts you up 35-30. So all around, I mean, it's just been a bit of a messy season for Penn State. There's no doubt on that. But for Nebraska, it was a big win for them. Iowa, though, beating out Minnesota, yeah, it's a great win there, 35-7. Obviously, it's been a bad season for Minnesota too. But your winning streaks, both these teams, Iowa's 2-2 with a 2-game winning streak. Penn State is 0-4 with a 4-game losing streak. This game is to be on Saturday, November 21st, 3:30 p.m. Eastern in University Park, so Penn State will be your home team here. Spread currently says Iowa by 2.5. ESPN FPI's got Iowa 56%, and the Vegas prediction is also going with Iowa 31-26, being the projected final score as of now. So Iowa is favored to win in this matchup, it looks like, as of now, but of course it is very close. The line is only 2.5 points right now, which that could easily switch over the next few days as we are still pretty early on in the week right now. But here's your second comparison for this game. Of course, Iowa's got 31 points per game, 14 points allowed. So all around, they've got a great ratio there between points per game and points allowed. They got 192 pass yards a game, 183 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, they got 201 passing and then 112 rushing. For Penn State, it does not look near as good. They got 25 points per game, but 34 points allowed per game. Then they got 278 passing, 158 rushing, and then for yards allowed, they got 230 passing and 129 rushing. So for Penn State on the flip side, I mean, they've got a lot of passing yards per game. Sean Clifford, I mean, he's been a decent quarterback. I think he actually got benched during the Nebraska game at one point for a different quarterback, but he has, he's put up decent stats. He's put up around 900 yards and 9 touchdowns, along with 6 interceptions through 4 games, which 6 interceptions to 9 touchdowns is a terrible ratio. That's pretty much a 1.5 to a 1 touchdown to interception ratio, which definitely needs to be improved if Penn State's going to go with Sean Clifford, because I think Sean Clifford's got a tremendous amount of upside. I think he can be a great quarterback, but this season has just been terrible for him so far. But yeah, then he got Spencer Petras on the Iowa side, who's got 750 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. So he hasn't been near as good either on the Iowa side, and that's the main reason why Iowa's got their running back in Goodson, who's been performing pretty well so far. On 63 carries so far this season, he's got 375 yards and 5 touchdowns, which is actually pretty impressive through 4 games. But moving on to your key points, of course, Penn State is desperate for a win at this point. That's pretty obvious. I mean, Penn State being 0-4, like, who would have known that we'd be seeing Penn State as an 0-4 team, last place in the entire Big Ten Conference, likely the worst team in the Big Ten Conference, and especially behind Maryland and Rutgers. And who would have known? I mean, Penn State last season was a national contender, and they went from national contender to absolute just a terrible team within a season, which is insane to see. Usually, like, Penn State, I mean, I predicted them to be a really good team, and I'm sure many other experts did too. I don't really think anyone predicted Penn State to be bad this season, which, I mean, it's just crazy. Like, they had all of the keys to success there. Of course, Journey Brown's had his troubles, which, sorry to him, but of course, I mean, it's just been a mess for Penn State right now. It's just been a terrible season, and they're desperate for a win here. Like, Penn State, I mean, if they're going to have any momentum heading into the second half of the season, they have to get a win here. Like, their bowl chances are still, I mean, they still have a chance to make a bowl game. It's going to be a low chance, but they still have a chance. And so for Penn State, I mean, you got to win out if you're going to make it to a bowl game. And I think this is going to be a very important game and building some momentum back. As for Iowa on the other side, of course, I mean, Iowa's gaining momentum right now. I mean, they're looking really good. They got 2 blowout wins under their belt over the past couple of weeks. Like they blew out Minnesota 35-7, blew out Michigan State the week before that 49-7. So they've outscored their previous 2 opponents just about 100-14. So I was looking pretty good right now moving into the second half of this season, which of course they did lose by 1 to Northwestern and by 4 to Purdue. But if you think about it, both of those losses, they look like terrible losses, but both losses were really close. Like they lost by a total of 5 points between both those games. So Iowa, I think, is a very good team. I think Iowa is much better than their 2-2 record right now. They were just on the wrong end of the stick for the 2 losses against Northwestern and Purdue. But still, Iowa's gained a ton of momentum. They're looking pretty good right now heading into this Penn State matchup. But this is going to be a crucial game for both these teams moving forward too. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, if you got Iowa on one side, of course, they still have a chance to make it to the Big Ten championship if they run the table. But on the flip side, I mean, they could also make it to a really good bowl game if they win the games that they're supposed to over the next few weeks. Which, I mean, I definitely think Penn State is Iowa's capable of being a good bowl team. Like, this is a team that I think could make it to a legit bowl game once we get towards January. But I think, I definitely think Penn State Penn State is going to be desperate for a win here. And honestly, when you've got a team in desperation, usually that leads to a win. I mean, for Penn State, of course, being 0-4 right now, they've got no momentum at all. But, I mean, at some point, Penn State's going to get a win. And there is a chance that we do see Penn State get their first win here. Like, if you look at Penn State, they've got better recruiting than Iowa does. They've got so much talent on this Nittany Lion team. And honestly, I'm just going to put it straight up. It's been embarrassing the way that Penn State's been playing. I mean, if you look at how much talent this team has, the recruiting that this team has had, it is absolutely terrible seeing them perform the way that they have. Like, Penn State is so much more capable of so many better things. It's just this season has been a mess for them. But nonetheless, I've got Iowa winning this game. I think it's going to be extremely close. As you can see, my probability is 55% towards Iowa. I think the only reason why I'm giving Iowa the win here is because of how they've played over the past couple of weeks. Iowa has got a fire going right now. They've won 2 straight games in a row by significant margins. They're looking very good right now. Penn State does not have any momentum or anything right now. I mean, it almost looked like they were going to get blown out to Nebraska at one point. I think they were down like 24 to 3. It was either 24-3 or 24-6 at one point against the Huskers. And it looked like it was just going to get out of hand at that point, which kudos to Penn State for fighting back, but they still took a loss. And Iowa on the flip side is looking much better right now. I think personally Iowa looks like the best team in the Big Ten West as of now, even though they've lost 2 games just as of right now. And so I think Iowa's going to get the win. Once again, I am very uncertain about this game. This is a very tough to predict game. I'm only going Iowa 55% here, but it's going to be very close. Like, if you told me Penn State was going to win this game, I would absolutely believe you. I think Penn State has got the capabilities to win this game. And because of the desperation that they do have right now, that could lead them to a win. But in the final, 24-21, I've got the Hawkeyes getting the win here. I think Iowa, once again, with all the momentum that they have, I think Iowa's the favorite here to win this matchup. But do let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup. Yeah, let me know your score predictions, all of that down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But then again, thanks again for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this preview, stop a like on it and subscribe as well if you're not already yet, as it really helps the channel. But once again, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I'll see you all later.